In 1933, I saw this strange film called King Kong. I think I was 13 years old at the time, and the awesomeness of looking at this big cinema screen that was 30 feet high with this image of Kong parading across the screen was just overwhelming. But I couldn't figure out how the animals moved so lifelike. You knew it wasn't real, but it looked so real. Just left an impression that I had to find out how it was done. Well, I was still in high school at the time, and I was going through Popular Mechanics, I think, and there were a lot of misleading articles how the film was possibly done. Nobody knew. They kept it a great secret. Then Look magazine finally came out with a big full-page spread showing Fay Wray as a big lady shaking hands with an 18-inch King Kong. So it described the process much more in detail and much more accurately, and that intrigued me about getting into the field of animation. Meeting Willis O'Brien was quite by accident, you might say. I was still in high school, and I looked over across the room and saw this girl with a big book with illustrations of Kong, drawings of them, and that intrigued me. And at the end of the period, I went over and introduced myself and told her about my fascination with Kong. Her father had worked with Willis O'Brien, and she said, well, call him up. He's working at MGM. He would be glad to talk to you. So I called him up at MGM. He kindly said, come down to the studio and I'll show you some preparation. And so I loaded some of my animals and drawings into a suitcase, and he looked at them and he said, unfortunately, your Stegosaurus's legs look like sausages. So he says, you better study anatomy. And so I did. I kept in touch with Willis O'Brien over the years. At the end of the war, he started another picture at RKO called Mighty Joe Young. So I worked with him on the preparation of Mighty Joe, and I used to sharpen his pencils and mount his drawings. We worked that way for about a year, and because Willis O'Brien was so busy, I ended up doing about 80% to 90% of the animation. Of course, my experience on Mighty Joe Young was a dream come true because Willis O'Brien was my mentor. I admired his work in that film, and I always remember that as the basic experience that was the highlight of my life.